Hello everyone, welcome to PSIR 300 Plus channel. Nowadays whenever there was a meeting of G20 or G7 or you can say SARC, or you can say BRICS, you can say the Conference of Parties of Climate Change Convention, every time whenever the meeting is happening they are calling it as declaration. So now also G20 summit is being held in South Africa, which is the southernmost country in the African continent. And whatever the key takeaways are there from this particular meeting, where Prime Minister Modi ji is also present over there. And he is also discussing many things with regard to investment, with regard to technology, with regard to climate change. All of that I have already discussed in my previous video, so I will relate this video with that video. So after watching this video you can also watch the video, and that will be a good amount of information with regard to G20 summit. So whenever these kind of summits are happening, they are calling it as what? Declaration. So now some of the important steps has been taken in this G20 summit, which is being held in South Africa. They are now calling it as South African Declaration. South African Declaration. Okay. And I have to tell you that Mr. Donald Trump is absent from this particular G20 summit. How sad it is, he don't want to see our Prime Minister Modi ji, because Prime Minister Modi ji has avoided him doing the ASEAN summit, because obviously we are very miffed and annoyed with the US government and also the President Donald Trump. We have received him with like a hero in our country, and a lot of people has actually done a lot of prayers, yagnas for his winning thing. But what he has given us in return, he has given us full blown tariff, 100% on the pharma, 50% on various products, which is actually harming our exporters a lot. But there is a kind of hope is going on with regard to India US nuclear, not nuclear, India US trade deal is coming to the end, it seems. So let us see what kind of negotiations our experts and bureaucrats are doing with the US officials, so that at the end we have to secure, at least normalize the situation or restore the situation which was there before the tariff hikes was levied on India. Okay, right. Now let us talk about some important key takeaways of G20 summit. Okay, please don't mind. I have to put myself in the center, otherwise you will not be able to see the content. Okay. So overview of the G20 summit, very beautiful summit it was. You can see that. Okay, more from is anyhow now that it's AI generated image. So that's all about it. Okay. Examining the significance of 20th G20 Leaders Summit, which is being held in Johannesburg. The 20th G20 Leaders Summit, which is being held in Johannesburg, marked a very historic moment, because this is the first G20 summit being held in Africa, and African president has actually told to the Prime Minister Modi ji, his name is Crystal, he's told to the Prime Minister Modi ji, yaar, you did not tell me that conducting a G20 summit will be so tough. Means because obviously South Africa is hosting a lot of number of leaders, and it's a very big event, very powerful event, very important dignitaries of the world are being present over there. So it's a quite challenging to arrange all the security, all the things that are required for the leaders and for the summit to go on. So he has commented to the Prime Minister Modi ji, how did you do this? You did not tell us that it will be very challenging and tough. That led to a lot of love among people over there. Okay, right. So this is the first G20 summit being held in Africa, despite notable absences, including the US was not there. The summit addressed critical global issues, emphasizing on climate change and importance of collaborative efforts tackling pressing challenges facing the continent and the world. So basically African continent is the focus here, and also the world challenges or issues are also the focus here. And also they have also talked about climate finance. Okay, International Monetary Fund, some important what I say is that steps are being taken up in the IMF, though everything is being done. But the Mr. Donald Trump, the messiah, the peace man of the world, is actually not a part of this particular event, which is a very sad on part of the America itself, because they only actually have lost the important opportunity with regard to meeting all the leaders and trying to have a very stabilized relationship with this number of the world leaders would have been very good. He went to ASEAN. You know that the group is very small and hardly have any representation with regard to might, with regard to economic trade. But G20 summit he would have attended, because it's not a summit of small leaders, it's a summit of very very big leaders. A lot of positives would have come to the Americans also, okay, because they are also suffering from inflation, they are also suffering from a lot of other pressing issues over there, which would have been solved in this particular summit if you has just put forward some of the important issues, and all the other leaders would have been taken into cognizance, okay, right. So in this particular summit we have actually we have said that African representation will be increased to 25%, okay, and $100 billion fund will be given in IMF in the form of a special drawing rights contribution. One new chair will be given to Africa in the IMF executive board. Very very important. Executive board is very important because it is the board which actually takes the decision, and that's how the decisions will be implemented. So African board was not there, now we are going to have a African board, okay. $100 billion will be given, will be pumped into IMF, and the governments, obviously the developing nations, can get the money, can get the funding from the IMF in the form of special drawing rights. 25% increase will be happening with regard to African representation in various important institutions. That is what this particular summit has told. Then one important philosophy is there with regard to South Africa, which is called as Ubuntu philosophy. अब कैसा पढ़ सकते वैसा पढ़िए. I have just studied it this way, that Ubuntu. I am because we are. Ubuntu is nothing but I am because we are in African philosophy. I am because we are. Okay, means I is related to we. So they are just saying that it's not the individual in Africa, it is like all the Africa that you represent. If one is being represented, it is being like everyone else is also being represented, just like our Captain America of Avengers. He assembles everyone, everyone has to come, right or wrong? Yes. So Ubuntu, I am because we are, is African philosophy emphasizing our interconnectedness and shared humanity. It means that a person is person through other people only. Otherwise, he will never be a person. An individual identity is deeply tied to community. That is what I have told you. I is not a I in Africa. I is always we in Africa. This concept highlights interdependence of one individual with another individual. That's how the society makes up, mutual support to each other, and importance of community well-being on the individual self-interest. Obviously very beautiful philosophy that they are having, okay. Now I, the establishment of 25th IMF Executive Board Chair for Sub-Saharan African represents a very significant step forward for the enhanced African participation in global financial discussions and decision-making process. Obviously, when you are a part of the Executive Board, your decisions will also be heard. That's a very good change. Then let us talk about climate action and resilience. Urgency is there. Addressing climate change impacts on vulnerable nations is very, very crucial. Vulnerability is nothing but something is like this. If you don't give the support from here, it will fall, okay. So you are trying to give support. So the vulnerable nations are those nations which are actually having very situations of what tsunami, situations of earthquake, has very less money with them, has very less technology with them, so they may be susceptible to a major climate change extremities. That's the reason addressing their vulnerabilities is one of the important initiative taken under this climate change action resilience report. So you can see that climate action initiatives which has been taken under this particular G20 summits are: disaster risk finance mechanism will be created that will fund the vulnerable and the developing nations to develop the infrastructure to protect them from the natural calamities. Support will be given for vulnerable communities also. Resilient sustainable development practices will be told to them, will be given to them. Technology transfer will also happen. Education empowering local solution which actually does not destroy the environment and use the environment or ecological resources in a very just manner. Growth, innovative energy solutions are very very important. Just like we are having in our country, we are doing nuclear energy, we are doing electronic vehicles, electric vehicles we are having, we are actually going towards. Already India has gone through, okay, more than 50% of what renewable energy we are having with regard to our energy demand. So we need to find more solutions so that we can make it more applicable to the African nations. So these are some of the important steps being taken. Now let us talk about debt sustainability. Now let us talk about what? Debt sustainability. Challenges is like high levels of debt is there with regard to low income countries in Africa. Very high level of debt is there. They are बहुत ज़्यादा कर्जा है उनके ऊपर. Okay, that's why their investments are being hindered with regard to infrastructure development, healthcare, education. These constraints are even aggravated when the economic vulnerabilities they are facing, which is prevented their preventing their sustained growth, and that is how they are limited to respond to any of the crisis. G20 recognizes the pressing need for a coordinated approach to make these debt challenges effectively. That's why $1 billion has been committed with regard to special drying rights. In that $1 million, the debt problems of the African nations will be removed, and they will be allowed to invest in what green solutions and green technologies by taking the help of what local solutions too. Solution very simple. G20 common framework offers a structured method for debt treatment, okay, and emphasizing predictability and coordination among creditors. It supports innovative solutions like debt for development swaps. If you develop your country, if you develop your area, we will remove your debt. Okay, aiming to enhance debt transparency. So when you, if I borrow something from you, if you say that if you study well, I will just return off your debt. So what will happen? It ensure transparency with regard to how you are using the debt and how serious you are repaying the debt, right or wrong? Yes. Okay, these measures are vital for fostering economic stability and encouraging long-term development in vulnerable countries like Africa's. Okay, enhancing debt transparency for sustainable solution. Okay, promoting clarity ensures equitable solutions for all stakeholders with the help of executive board, with the help of debt for development swap agreements. Okay, transparency has been enhanced. Then this particular committee G20 has also recommended with regard to UNSC reforms. Okay, reform discussion also happened. The G20 leaders emphasize the need for inclusive reform of UNSC to better reflect today's geopolitical realities. Okay, the five countries which are actually the being which are the part of UNSC, they should only be not be there in UNSC doing the veto all the time. We want other countries to be included in a UNSC because to have a more democratic decision making. G20 stand is very simple that the G20 declaration supports multilateralism. We do not side with Russia, we do not side with USA, no bipolarity. We will forge relations, all the G20 relations will forge the relations with other countries. Okay, that's why multilateralism is the way out as a cornerstone of global governance, urging collaborations among nations to address pressing global challenges through a uniform UNSC structure. Geopolitical context, if you see, the evolving global landscape highlight the importance of adopting governance frameworks to meet contemporary challenges, fostering stability. Just because in UNSC only 5 members are there, Gaza peace plan did not happen, Ukraine and Russia war is not going to end. Okay, and WHO, the US has moved out of WHO, the UK has moved out of Brexit. Okay, and UNSC, the US during the Donald Trump period, he has moved out of United Nations Convention on Climate Change. Also, he has moved out of it. Okay, so a tariff war is very unpredictable. So if a UNSC complete a good governance framework is there in which India, South Africa, other countries are also there, we would have tackled the problems very good. That is what the summit has actually emphasized. Okay, key takeaways, if you see the recap summarizing the G20 Leaders Declaration in Africa, the G20 Leaders Declaration outlines 10 crucial takeaways. That is nothing but global governance, urgent climate action, importance of debt sustainability. This recap emphasizes the necessity for multilateral cooperation to tackle multilateralism has always been envisaged. Remember this point, to tackle what global pressing issues and protection of what the vulnerable countries, which is very important. Okay, I hope this is all clear to you. Do join my test series mentorship and classes with regard to PSIR, and do be a part of my courses. That is the best that you can do and make my whatever I am doing viable and stable for a sustained growth. Thank you so much for hearing to me. Have a nice day. Good night.